How about bishop takes? Ooh, that's a scary move. That's a scary move. We're going to go ahead and play one more, and we'll see what we end up with. We're once again going to play the white pieces, and with a win here, we go to the 700s. Old Benoni. Here's a fun one, and I'll give you guys the cheat code right on the spot. We can't play c4, knight c3 like usual. We have to just go ahead and push d5. And that's just the proper response to the Old Benoni. We want to keep our center presence. We don't want to give up the center and open up the d file. This is a continuation here. He plays e6, and I like to play c4 because if pawn takes back, and he's playing pretty basic Benoni here. He's just trying to pressure d4. This is a pin. This is a pin, but still the pawn can just take back. This has to be a mistake. I don't see people at the higher levels playing this. What is bad about this position? Well, yeah, for starters, bishop d2 comes with a tempo. Bishop d2 comes with a tempo. He's got queen b6. He's moved his queen twice already. And I think queen c2 is a really nice spot for the queen. Notice it's blocking off this entire light square diagonal. And there's no real way to get involved there. Not yet. I mean, he can eventually play a move like f5, and then he has this position. But notice the whole point is that we're just trying to maintain our center. And it's not a usual game we play where we're developing our knights or bishops. Because he played the Old Benoni, we're going for a different strategy. We're simply just taking over the center. And we'll probably play bishop d3, looking to protect this pawn extra. What do I want to do here? He's opening up the idea of pinning our knight. So maybe I just play that first. I want to see what he wants to do here. I was thinking bishop to d3 would be a good move, but now I'm not loving that as much because if he does pin, I'd consider even moving the knight back. I do want to castle here. But first things first, his knight goes to a6. There's literally only one productive square he can go to, and that's b4. So just stop, think, what's he trying to do, and is there any way I can stop him? Yeah, just play a3. And now he's just moving right back into b8. I want you guys to look at this development here. Our pawns are completely owning the center of the board. Completely owning the center of the board. None of his pieces are developed at all. He hasn't castled yet. We're just going to play bishop e2. Very conservative bishops. We're going to castle. And we're officially way ahead in development. And now it's time to do something with that. Similar to how he attacked the center of our board, I like the idea of pushing b4 and creating a queenside attack. I know his king is obviously going to end up castling shorts, but we do have this push. Now, here's the problem with knight to g4. It's what I like to call a one-hitter, and it doesn't even work because after queen to h4, our knight is actually defending h2. But if we just go ahead and pressure the knight here and say, where are you going to go, buddy? I'm not sure where exactly he can go. I'm interested to see if he plays h5, which would be a really high-level move that I wouldn't necessarily foresee. And once again, he's retreating into a weird square. I'm not interested in taking that knight because it opens up the rook, and I actually think that's going to be quite good for him. So do I continue with my attack, even though it gives him some development? Not necessarily interested in that either. I do, however, like the idea of playing bishop e3. It doesn't look like it's doing much, but now my idea, yep, it forces him to take because otherwise pawn takes, knight takes, pawn takes, and all of a sudden I have a passed d pawn. So I hope you guys can see that. Before, if I took, the knight took back, and he's actually able to avoid the passed d pawn. But because I pressured with bishop to e3, he now has to take. Otherwise, after knight takes, pawn takes, it's a passed d pawn, and this will be the center, really the focal point of our strategy for winning. So yeah, he takes, we take back, and that's fine too. We're still gonna try to create that pass D pawn, so he's playing this very well. Um, I almost have a tactic here, but it's actually defended quite nicely. I want to see what I can do here. Can I take anyway? Not necessarily. Maybe knight a4. Knight a4 with the idea that if this knight goes ahead and takes, we're looking to maybe win this rook. He's going to castle here. That's fine too. Do I have this push now? Pawn takes, pawn takes, pawn takes back, pawn takes. I actually would probably be okay there. There's 4 defenders, and there's actually, because the queen can get involved too. There's 4 attackers, or are there 5 attackers here? We push. Pawn takes, knight takes. Let's go ahead and open this bad boy up. I don't see how that can hurt. Pawn takes, pawn takes, pawn takes, knight takes, bishop takes, queen takes bishop. And in that position, we've completely opened this queen side up, which is really the basis of our plan this entire time, is to open this up. And if he wants to play something cute like queen c7, notice that we can just play rook c1, and the position actually holds itself together quite nicely. But you know what? Another thing that does is it removes the defender, both defenders in fact, of the e5 pawn. So while it does make sense to maybe take the c pawn, I actually love this idea of knight takes e5. Knight takes e5 is a really interesting idea. We're threatening this fork on the queen and bishop, and really the best defense to this is probably something weird like bishop b7, where he's basically going to put his kettled bishop into a pawn storm, right? He goes ahead and he just defends that way, and that's fine too. Let's go ahead and play queens. So yeah, knight c6, which is a really nice outpost. Here comes the queen. There comes the queen. Queen. If I push here, I don't actually win a pawn. Notice the bishop just takes back. And that's not great. The rooks are defending each other, so I do have to point out that the dark square diagonal is contentious, but we're going to see what we can do here. Okay, he's attacking this square, but how about bishop takes? Ooh, that's a scary move. And I'm curious if people see the idea here. It's a tricky move, but it's completely defensible, or defendable, I should say. He's threatening maiden 1, and it's scary, but something I want you guys to note is that bishop f3 will actually defend the maiden 1, and what we're doing now, okay, yep, so there he goes with the knight. And what's he trying to do here? I'm a little nervous about this position, but I'm not necessarily completely convinced that this isn't losing for. I think this is losing completely for black. Yes, you do not want to take this bishop because you're opening yourself up to a nasty discovered attack. But bishop g3 seems like a really friendly option. And what this does is it blocks off the queen from a really nasty discovered idea. The queen's not going to be able to hit us the way he wants to. And on top of that, the bishop is trapped, completely trapped. You guys see that? The bishop can't get out. The best move is probably bishop just takes. And then I'm sure I just take back with the bishop. And then the queen doesn't have any idea of coming onto the h-file, just because the fact that the bishops will be defending the weak h2 and h1 squares. And our opponent has pretty much ran out of options. On the bright side, he can castle now. Yep. Okay. Um. Okay. Another thing. So this sack doesn't work either. I think the best response is simply just queen f2, and everything is defended quite nicely. And if he castles, we finish him off with this ridiculous fork, and and that's just mean. We've won that one.